Episode 3, A Promise During War. The letter was stained by rain. Its edges were soft from being folded and unfolded too many times. The ink had faded in places, especially where water had touched it, but Daniel could still read every word because he had memorized them years ago. He sat beneath a torn canvas shelter in a camp crowded with displaced families, holding the paper like it was something sacred. Around him, people moved through mud, carrying water, food, medicine, and grief. Children cried. Aid workers shouted names from registration lists. Somewhere nearby, a woman was singing softly to a baby who would not sleep. Daniel heard none of it. He only saw the handwriting. Amina's handwriting, the first letter that had ever reached him, the first proof that she was still alive after he left Mukunzi. The first proof that the promise had not been foolish. The first proof that hope could travel, even through war. Some promises are easy to keep. Others require years, distance, sacrifice, and faith. When Daniel left Amina outside Mama Ruth's hut, the promise seemed simple. When the war is over, I'll come back. 3 words. A soldier could carry 3 words, but war has a way of making simple things difficult, and difficult things nearly impossible. Daniel did not know how long the war would last. Amina did not know how far it would reach. Neither of them knew that letters would soon become the only road between them. Some would arrive, some would disappear, some would wait years to be found, but in the beginning there was only hope, and one young soldier trying to return to a war that no longer felt like the only thing waiting for him. The journey back to the rebel camp took 3 days. Daniel hated every step. His leg throbbed with a deep, pulsing pain that spread upward whenever the path turned steep. Amina had warned him not to push too hard. He had promised he would be careful. Then, as soon as the rescue team began moving, he did exactly what wounded men always do. He pretended he was fine. By the second day, no one believed him. Joseph, one of the scouts, slowed his pace and looked at Daniel's face. "You are sweating." "It is hot." "It is raining." Daniel looked away. Joseph said nothing more, but from that point forward, the team rested more often. Nobody admitted it was because of Daniel. He was grateful for that. The forest looked different now that he was conscious. On the night, he was carried from the battlefield. The trees had been shadows, the rain had been a wall, and pain had swallowed everything else. Now he could see the hills clearly. Tall grass bent beneath water, birds moved between branches, mist rose from the valleys like breath. It was beautiful. That disturbed him. The same hills that had hidden gunfire also held morning light. The same paths that carried fighters also carried farmers, nurses, children, old women with firewood. War did not erase beauty. It only made beauty harder to trust. Every few hours, Daniel found himself thinking about Amina, not intentionally. Thoughts of her arrived the way rain arrived in the hills. Suddenly, completely. He remembered her voice telling him not to die, her hands tying the blue cloth around his bandage, the way she spoke about the clinic she wanted to build, the way she had said, "Then survive long enough to keep it." He touched the inside pocket of his jacket, where he had folded a small strip of blue cloth she had used to tie his bandage. She had not given it to him, not exactly. It had simply stayed with his things after the dressing was changed before he left. He told himself it was practical, a reminder to keep the wound clean. A piece of cloth, nothing more. Even then, he knew he was lying. They reached the camp near sunset on the 3rd day. It was hidden beneath thick forest, spread across a slope where the trees grew close together. Smoke from cooking fires drifted low between tents and shelters. Fighters moved quietly. Some cleaned weapons, some repaired boots, some slept wherever they could. Daniel recognized faces and noticed absences. That was the first thing war taught a person to do after every battle: count the living, then feel the missing. He had barely entered camp when a voice shouted his name. "Daniel!" he turned. Samuel came running from the far side of the camp. For one strange second, Daniel thought he was hallucinating again. Then Samuel crashed into him and wrapped both arms around him. Daniel groaned as pain shot through his leg. Samuel jumped back. "You are alive!" "Barely, thanks to your terrible hug." Samuel laughed, then stared at him as if confirming every detail. "I thought you were dead." "So did I." Samuel shook his head. "You look awful." Daniel smiled. "You look worse." Samuel placed a hand over his heart. "I mourned you for 3 days, and this is how you return?" "You mourned?" "Briefly." 3 days?" "Fine, 1.5. Daniel laughed, and for a moment, the camp disappeared. The war disappeared. They were just two young men relieved that death had failed to take one of them. Later, when the first excitement passed, Samuel sat beside Daniel near a low fire and asked the question everyone wanted to ask. "What happened?" Daniel looked into the flames. He told him. The wound, the rain, Mama Ruth, the hut, the nurse, Amina. He tried to tell it simply. He failed. Samuel listened without interrupting, which worried Daniel more than the jokes would have. When Daniel finished, Samuel leaned back and stared at him. "So she saved your life?" "Yes." "And she is beautiful." Daniel frowned. "I did not say that." Samuel pointed at him. "You did not need to." Daniel looked away. Samuel's grin widened. "Oh, what? Oh, this is worse than I thought." "What is?" "You miss her." Daniel stared into the fire. He could deny it. He considered denying it. Then he remembered the blue cloth in his pocket. "I owe her," he said. Samuel laughed softly. "That is not what I said." Daniel did not answer. He did not need to. The war did not wait for Daniel to recover fully. War rarely waits for anything. Within 2 weeks, commanders were already discussing new operations. Within a month, Daniel was moving with his unit again, though his limp remained obvious when he was tired. He trained lightly at first, then longer, then harder. Eventually, the body did what bodies often do in war. It adapted, the wound closed, the scar remained. The pain visited when it rained, and the promise stayed with him everywhere. He thought about returning to Mukunzi constantly at first. Then, as months passed and the fighting intensified, he began thinking about it differently, not as a place he could reach tomorrow, as a destination waiting somewhere beyond the war. That made the promise both comforting and cruel. Amina was close enough to remember, too far to see. 3 months after leaving Mukunzi, a trader arrived at the rebel camp. He was a thin man named Kato, who moved between villages selling salt, soap, batteries, cooking oil, fabric, and news. In wartime, news was often more valuable than salt. People paid to know which road was open, which checkpoint was active, which village had emptied, which commander controlled which hill. Daniel found him near the supply tent. "You travel near Mukunzi?" Kato looked him over carefully. "Sometimes. I need a letter delivered." The trader smiled. "Everyone needs something delivered. I can pay." "That is the correct answer." Daniel ignored the joke. "Can you deliver it?" Kato scratched his chin. "If the road is open, if I am not searched, if the village is still there, if the person wants to receive it." Daniel stiffened. "Why would she not?" The trader's smile returned. She... Daniel regretted speaking immediately. Kato laughed. "I will try." That night, Daniel sat under a lantern with a blank piece of paper. He had faced gunfire. He had crawled through mud under mortar fire. He had watched men die beside him. None of that prepared him for the difficulty of writing to Amina. The first version was too formal. He threw it away. The second sounded like a military report. He threw that away too. The third sounded like someone trying not to feel anything. That one annoyed him most. Finally, near midnight, he began again. Dear Amina, I hope this letter reaches you safely. I promised I would return after the war, but I realized I never promised to remain silent until then. My leg is healing, slowly. You would probably say it is healing only because you forced it to. Samuel is alive. He has already made too many jokes about my limp. Please tell Mama Ruth that I have not forgotten the firewood I owe her. Thank you for saving my life. I know I already said it. I still do not think I said it properly. Daniel, he read it several times. It felt too small, but maybe that was right. Some feelings were too large to fit on paper, honestly. He folded it carefully and gave it to Cato the next morning. The trader tucked it into a bundle of fabric and walked away. Daniel watched until he disappeared down the road. The letter was gone, and with it, something Daniel could not name. Weeks passed, no reply. Daniel told himself not to expect one. The roads were dangerous. Messengers were unreliable. Villages were searched. Letters were lost. People moved. People disappeared. Still, every time a trader arrived, his eyes searched for folded paper. Any message? No. Anything from Mukunzi? No. Did you pass through the northern road? Closed. He tried to appear casual. Samuel was not fooled. You look like a dog waiting for its owner. Daniel threw a piece of bark at him. Samuel dodged. I am only concerned for your dignity. My dignity survived your friendship. It can survive anything. That was almost clever. Almost? You are recovering. The reply came 2 months after Daniel sent the first letter. Cato arrived late in the afternoon with mud on his trousers and a satisfied look on his face. Without greeting Daniel, he handed him a folded envelope. Daniel recognized his name, then the handwriting. His heart stuttered. He took the letter slowly. Did she give this to you? Cato smiled. A nurse gave it to me. Young, serious. Looked like she could scold a storm into stopping. Daniel laughed once. That was Amina. He waited until he was alone before opening it. Dear Daniel, Mama Ruth says she never walks fast. She claims the rest of us simply walk too slowly. I told her this explanation makes no sense. She told me age gives her the right to make no sense. I suspect she may be correct. The clinic is busy, but still standing. The rains have stopped for now. Several children are convinced my medical bag contains magic. I have decided not to correct them. I am glad your leg is healing. Continue doing that. Amina? Daniel read it once, then again, then a third time. It was not a love letter. It was better. It was ordinary. Alive. Amina was alive. Mama Ruth was alive. The clinic was still standing. For the first time since leaving Mukunzi, Daniel felt the distance between them shrink. Samuel appeared beside him like a curse. Letter? Daniel folded it quickly. No. Samuel smiled. You are holding paper. It could be anything. Does anything make you smile like an idiot? Daniel put the letter in his pocket. I was not smiling. You were nearly glowing. Go away, Samuel laughed. Definitely worse than I thought. The letters continued, not regularly. War did not allow regular things. Some arrived in 2 weeks, others in 2 months. Some never arrived at all. Neither Daniel nor Amina knew which ones disappeared. That uncertainty became part of the relationship long before either admitted there was a relationship. Daniel wrote about camp life, Samuel's jokes, the pain in his leg when it rained, and the young recruits who reminded him of himself. Amina wrote about patience, Mama Ruth, stubborn children, medicine shortages, and the clinic that refused to collapse even when the roof leaked. At first, the letters were careful. Then they became warmer, then more honest. Distance made certain truths easier to write than speak. One evening, Daniel received a letter that ended with a sentence he could not stop reading. Some days I think war teaches people how to survive. Other days I think it teaches them how to forget how to live. He read it under the lantern until the words blurred. Then he wrote back, "Dear Amina, today I trained new recruits. Some are younger than I was when I joined. That frightens me more than the fighting. Samuel says I was born old, so I should not complain about feeling older. He may be right, but I will never tell him that. You once asked what I wanted before the war. I wanted to teach. Sometimes I still do. I hope your clinic becomes real someday, not just the one you work in now. The bigger one you described beneath the stars. I remember it clearly." Daniel. Amina received that letter 3 weeks later. She read it outside the clinic at sunset. The words, "I remember it clearly," made her pause. Not because they were dramatic, because they were not. Daniel had remembered the clinic, the dream, the conversation, the stars. She folded the letter and placed it in a small wooden box beneath her bed. The box already held several others. Mama Ruth noticed immediately. Old women notice everything, especially things young women try to hide. You smile when you read those. Amina nearly dropped the letter. I smile at many things. No. Mama Ruth lowered herself onto a stool. You smile differently, Amina stood. I have work. You always have work. That does not answer the question. There was no question. Good. Then I will make one. Do you love him? Amina stared at her. Mama Ruth. What? I am old. I do not have time to walk slowly around obvious things. He was my patient. He was your patient, then he became your letter. Amina opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing useful came out. Mama Ruth smiled with great satisfaction. Exactly. Amina left the room. The old woman called after her. Running away is not an answer either. While the letters deepened, the war expanded. At the clinic, Amina began seeing more people from outside Mukunzi. Families from the north, families from the east. Families who arrived carrying everything they owned in sacks, baskets, and plastic containers. They brought stories. Villages searched, fields burned, roads closed, men taken, children lost. Amina treated what she could. Wounds, fevers, infections, hunger, fear. Fear was the hardest. There was no medicine strong enough for a child who flinched whenever a door closed too loudly. No bandage for a mother who kept counting her children because one had disappeared in a crowd. No injection for the silence of men who had seen too much. The clinic became crowded, then overwhelmed. Amina's letters changed slowly. At first, Daniel noticed only practical details. We have more patients now. Then, supplies are becoming harder to find. Then, several nearby villages have emptied. Then, if my letters become less frequent, please do not assume the worst. That sentence frightened him more than anything else she had written. Do not assume the worst. Only someone afraid of the worst would write that. Daniel changed too. Commanders trusted him more now. Experience had sharpened him. Responsibility had found him. He was not the loudest fighter or the most aggressive, but he listened. He remembered terrain. He considered civilians. He rarely wasted words. Those qualities made people follow him. They also made him tired. He began leading patrols, training new recruits, making decisions that affected whether others lived or died. One evening, after a difficult operation, Samuel found him sitting alone, overlooking a valley. You have become important. Daniel snorted. That sounds dangerous. It is. Samuel sat beside him. You know what else is dangerous? I assume you will tell me? Thinking too much about a nurse while people are shooting at you. Daniel looked at him. Samuel raised both hands. I am only saying focus is important. Daniel smiled faintly. She helps me focus. Samuel's expression softened. How? Daniel looked down at the valley. When this war began, I only thought about what had been taken from us. My father, the land, our dignity." He paused. "Amina reminds me there has to be something after." Samuel was quiet. Then he said, "That is either beautiful or very inconvenient. Probably both." The next letter Daniel sent was shorter than usual, not because he had less to say, because he was afraid of saying too much. "Dear Amina, I received your last letter. I will not assume the worst, but I will worry. I know you will tell me not to. I will ignore that instruction. My leg hurts when it rains, which means I think of you whenever the weather changes. That is not a complaint." Daniel, he almost did not send it. It felt too open, too close to confession. Samuel saw the letter before he folded it. Finally, Daniel looked up sharply. "What?" "Nothing." "Samuel." His friend smiled. "I am proud of you. Terrified, but proud." Daniel folded the letter with unnecessary force. Amina received it during one of the hardest weeks the clinic had ever faced. 3 women gave birth in 2 days. A truck of displaced families arrived with malaria spreading among children. An old man died before they could transfer him. Amina had not slept properly in days. When Cato handed her the letter, she almost cried from exhaustion before even opening it. Then she read Daniel's words. "My leg hurts when it rains, which means I think of you whenever the weather changes." She pressed the paper against her chest and closed her eyes. The clinic noise continued around her. Patients, voices, crying, footsteps, rain beginning again on the roof. For a few seconds, she allowed herself to feel something that was not responsibility. Mama Ruth appeared beside her. "I will not ask." Amina opened her eyes. "Good." "I will only say your face is answering many questions." Amina laughed, despite herself, then carefully folded the letter and placed it in her pocket. The front line moved closer. Nobody announced it directly. There was no official warning, only signs. The road north became unsafe. Then the Eastern Market stopped operating. Then soldiers appeared more frequently. Then entire families arrived before dawn, saying they had left because the fighting was only 1 valley away. Mukunzi became crowded. Refugee shelters appeared at the edge of the village. Then more, then more. Fields once used for planting became filled with tents. Children from different districts played together because war had brought them to the same place. At the clinic, Amina worked until her body felt separate from her mind. She treated patients in hallways, then outside, then beneath canvas sheets tied between trees. Every night she returned to her small room, opened Daniel's letters, and reminded herself that somewhere beyond the chaos, one person knew her not only as a nurse, but as Amina. Not the clinic worker, not the responsible one, not the woman everyone called when things went wrong. Amina. That mattered more than she wanted to admit. Daniel's next letter never reached her. He wrote it during a long storm. "Dear Amina, I dreamed last night that the war ended and nobody knew what to do with the silence. Samuel opened his restaurant. The food was terrible. You opened your clinic. It had blue doors. I do not know why. Maybe because of the cloth you used on my bandage. I still have it. I should probably not admit that. But war has already made fools of many people. It may as well make one of me. Daniel." The messenger carrying it was stopped 2 days later. The bundle of letters vanished. Daniel never knew. Amina never knew. Not then. Amina wrote too. Her letter was written in pieces over several nights, between patients, between emergencies, and between moments of exhaustion. "Dear Daniel, today Mama Ruth told me that stubbornness is only a flaw when it belongs to someone else. I think she may have invented this proverb herself. We are receiving more families every day. Some arrive with nothing but the clothes they are wearing. I try to help everyone. I fail every day. Then I wake up and try again. Is that courage or simply habit? I am not sure anymore. I hope you are alive. I hope you are still thinking of what comes after. I am trying to. Amina, that letter did reach Daniel. He read it twice, then folded it carefully, then sat alone for a long time, because he understood what she had not said. She was tired, not the kind of tired sleep could fix, the kind that came from carrying too many lives in your hands. He wanted to go to her. The desire became physical, a pull in his chest, a direction beneath the skin. The next morning, Daniel requested leave. His commander denied it. The movement was preparing a major campaign. Every experienced fighter was needed. Roads were unsafe. Travel would be reckless, Daniel argued. The commander's face hardened. Do you think you are the only person with someone to check on? The words landed hard because they were true. Daniel returned to his unit, angry and ashamed. Samuel found him later. Denied? Daniel nodded. Samuel sat beside him. I am sorry. Daniel stared at the ground. She is close to the front. I know. I promised I would come back. When the war ends. Daniel looked at him sharply. Samuel did not back away. You promised when the war ends, not in the middle of it. Do not die trying to keep the promise too early. Daniel hated that, mostly because it made sense. The final letter of that season arrived late. The envelope was damaged. The paper smelled faintly of smoke. Daniel opened it with a tightness in his chest. Dear Daniel, things are difficult here. The roads change every week. Some villages nearby are empty now. More people arrive every day. If my letters stop for a while, please do not think I stopped writing. I am still here. Mama Ruth says I should include that she remains impossible. She appears proud of this achievement. Stay alive. Not because of the war, because you promised. Amina. Daniel read the last line again. Because you promised. The paper trembled slightly in his hand. That night, he wrote a reply immediately. He wrote more honestly than he ever had. He wrote about fear, about duty, about wanting to return, about the blue cloth, about the future. He wrote one sentence he had avoided for months. I do not only want to thank you anymore. Then he stared at it for a long time. He did not cross it out. The letter was sealed at dawn. It never arrived. The promise had survived. The letters had begun. Hope had found a way to travel through mud, roadblocks, traders, fear, and war. But war is patient. It waits. It watches. It closes roads one at a time. It empties villages one family at a time. It turns letters into ghosts. Daniel believed he had sent his heart across the battle line. Amina believed she had told him where to find her if the worst happened. Neither knew that both letters were already lost, and beyond the hills, the front line was moving again. This time it was moving toward Mukunzi.